Hey, what's up? It's Phoenix and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I encourage you to hit that like button, to subscribe for more quality content, and to share with your friends. I also encourage you to check out the playlist tab for more videos, and I encourage you to check out my books on my author page. I'll put the link in the description. Now today I have a very special announcement, which is that two of my books, Separation Healing as well as Rogue, have been published by Hybrid Sequence Media, which is a new publishing company, and I'm very excited to have those books out. Today I'm going to talk about Separation Healing. You can find both of these books on my author page, so definitely check that out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Now, Separation Healing is a book that I am very proud of, and I'm very glad that it is out there in the world for you to engage with and to read. And what can I say about Separation Healing? Well, the cover design, I wanted to be intense, to capture the intensity of my experiences and emotions, the idea of being able to separate from something that you are so apparently and readily a part of, and to be able to separate from that for your own greater good. So that is definitely one of the themes throughout the book. And Separation Healing includes many poems where I describe difficult states of mind that I have experienced. Actually, when I wrote Separation Healing, it was when I was hospitalized about 3 years ago, and it was when I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil and trying to keep myself stable and calm, but having trouble due to mental illness itself and the kind of mania and other things that I was experiencing. It was a very difficult time, but one of the things that got me through it all was writing my poetry. Writing my poetry allowed me to express myself, to express all of the things that I was experiencing, and it gave me a chance to express things that I couldn't in other contexts. I mean, certainly Separation Healing is not an easy book to read. There are a lot of intense emotional poems that are very demanding and that require a lot of attention from the reader, and I don't describe pleasant states of being. It is why I wanted the cover to be so visceral, and why I'm very appreciative of the designers over at Nihilism Revised for developing that style, and I'm very glad that Hybrid Sequence Media was able to pick it up and publish it for a second printing. Now, a lot of people have described how they like my poetry, and I'm very glad that they do, but it seems that the poetry is definitely not for everybody because of its intensity, because of its themes, because of talking about mental illness and taboo subjects and mania, basically. The book is very messy, and even though the styles of the poems themselves might be very crisp, I think of one of the poems about logocentrism and about how that poem captures a kind of a more abstract notion of life, but how it is a complicated poem and how much I enjoyed writing that poem. But how it might not be for everybody due to its intensity. So what do we do with the poetry collection that describes mental illness so much? And that is a very valid question. As I've said, I'm not sure that everybody will understand it and appreciate it, but it was very cathartic for me to be able to describe these emotions that I had of struggling with myself, of struggling to accept myself, of struggling to be okay with my own mind, and not always understanding why I was having such strong emotions and such confusing thoughts. The book does go into a lot of difficult subject matter, and I think that some people will not relate to it, but for me, I'm not trying to capture the intensity for the sake of intensity. My goal isn't to be transgressive or intense in that way or offensive to some people. My goal is really to just capture my experience and to render that on the page and to make it as alive as it can be. I would say that the intense style in which I use for the book, the intense style and the wording that I choose and the often dramatic language that I use is very on par with a lot of elements that I think about, such as performance, which is important to my craft as poetry, but also the intensity of the way that it sounds, the way that the rhythm flows, and the various ways in which I try to capture the intensity of what I'm feeling by way of the language itself that I am using. Mental illness is a difficult subject matter. I would say LGBT issues are a very difficult subject for people to delve into, but a lot of the book is really just me trying to work through emotions and and feelings that I don't always understand. And these things that I try to understand, but that, at least for the time that I wrote the book, were very difficult. I've definitely come a long way to accepting my difficult situation in life and how much sometimes it does suck to have to go through the things that I've gone through. Not everybody understands. Often people aren't even necessarily empathetic to it because they can be judgmental of it, but I'm really just capturing my experience in the best way that I can, and I'm doing what I can, and I'm doing what I can to push through. And I'm really glad that over the 3 or 4 years that have passed since I wrote this book, that I'm in a much more happier place. I'm much more stable in terms of my identity and the way in which I relate to the world, and the way in which I relate myself to the world. And it definitely gives me a lot of hope for the future. So, separation healing. I hope that you'll check it out. Even in the title, you get this idea of a visceral kind of separation, but you realize that the way that we accept ourselves is by separating from the things, detaching from the things that hurt us the most, and being able to look at it detached, and being able to look at those emotions, such as through poetry, such as through art, and how that definitely gives a very useful way of looking at things for ourselves, especially when we are dealing with parts of ourselves that we may not like, and parts of ourselves that we may not want to accept or appreciate. The book is definitely about not judging the mind states that we have, the way in which we think about the world, and the way in which other people might judge us. But I would just say, hey, I'm writing my poetry in the best way I can, and I want it to hit home for people, and that is my hope that it does. So definitely check out the book, and I appreciate you stopping by. There will be much more videos to come, but in the meantime, thank you for watching. I will see you next time.